Hello and welcome to the newspaper review right here on High Impact Television. I am Oyin Priye Krumale. Some of the stories that have been on the fore of the policy today and for the past 2 days borders on the recent collapse of a building in Gerrard Road, Ikoyi, Lagos, where more than 20 people or the death toll has increased to 20, if not more. And the deputy Governor of Lagos State was at that scene where you have angry crowds agitating for and calling attention to the reason why delayed rescue teams arrive even before residents and passerby have started rescuing people who were victims from the building. Yet again, the topic comes to the fore: building materials, substandard use of building materials in erecting buildings, of course, and also there was this violation of the building codes rule. We'll be taking a look at that story. Come on Saturday, November 6th, Anambra elections will kick off. INEC has been saddled with the responsibility and the test run again to conduct another free, fair, and credible poll in preparation for 2023 that is barely at the corner. In spite of some security threat, the Inspector General of Police has deployed strategic officers and military personnel to go and make the atmosphere calm and amenable for the conduct of the elections in the state. Now we have our guest joining us virtually from Lagos, and he's Evans Ufeli. Evans Ufeli is a legal practitioner. Good morning and welcome to the newspaper review.
Good morning.
It's good to have you this morning, Barrister Ufeli.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Ufeli, some days ago we heard about the building collapse in Lagos recently, and the death toll has been mounting as from day to day. They keep increasing. I know this is not the first time we'll be having building collapse in Lagos. What has been your notice or observation so far with regards to building collapse in Nigeria and most especially in Lagos at this time?
Well, I think basically it's about procedural contraventions and legal contraventions. You see, the laws on the environmental laws on structure and structural development in Lagos is quite clear. There are areas where you cannot build skyscrapers because of the topography of the land. That is why you are asked to do a soil test from the outset, and then the government will now approve the kind of structure that can rest on the said land. Now, in this case, under reference, the building by the approval given by the Lagos State government is that it can only take 15 floors. Okay?
Yes.
But what you have currently at the building, which eventually collapsed, was 21 floors or 21 stories. So what you have here is that the human factor in contravening the laws of the land is why we're having building collapse. And this has been persistent because even those who contravene the laws have not been actually and definitely punished before now. So we had one, the Synagogue Church of God, that collapsed sometime 4 years ago.
Yes.
We had another one at Lagos Island just about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Then this one now. And we've had successive building collapse. It all boils down to one thing. Now, those who are supposed to carry out the regulatory function to ensure that quality control is guaranteed, they are not there. Now, sometimes when even they are there, they get compromised too, or they allow themselves to be compromised. Some of them collect money and then they just overlook whatever is going on. Most of these developers, or some of these developers, don't get professional engineers to carry out the structure because they want to cut costs. Now they engage direct labor, they engage unskilled laborers. You find out that 90% of the job is being performed by non-professionals just because they want to cut costs.
Okay.
And they fail to understand that the safety of humans who will live in that building or who will be passerby in that building, who will live in that street, is the paramount thing they should look out for. So I think that my suggestion, like I said in other media outfits, that the Lagos State government, after approval, must get quality control engineers who should be planted where those structures are being constructed, so that they will be able to, stand as quality control engineer to ensure that all the building materials that is being used are of quality and standard. But when you say that, they will say, the human resources is not there. Sometimes they will say, even if you do that, the person in question will compromise. So, when they compromise and things like this happen, whoever is a quality control engineer, whoever is a substantive engineer, and whoever owns the building must all be prosecuted. And if they are found guilty of any of the irregularities, they should face the law.
Okay,
I think that's a way to curb some of these things.
Okay, Barrister Philly, let me interrupt you here. Now, with the case of this building at Gerrard Road that collapsed, like you said earlier, it was built to take only 15 stories, but it got to more than 20 stories. And the regulatory agencies, by virtue of their functions and oversight functions, must have implying this part of town where they could see from the documents that they have that this building has actually gone beyond the provision or what it was built to carry. Don't you think the authorities would have prevented this from happening before now?
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. I said the authorities are in dereliction of their duties. That's what I'm saying. The blame first should go to the government. And then whatever reprimands or punishment or sanction should stem from the ministry that supervised, that gave the approval and supervised that structure. Before we even get to the owner of the building, and then the engineers and other subsidiary workers who, did the structure.
Okay. Now, Okay. Sorry, please go on. Finish up.
Yeah, because government is supposed to be consistent.
Okay.
If you have given approval, you should know that people contravene information and government structures or decisions.
Okay.
So you should be able to create a machinery that will monitor and ensure that it does not go beyond what is approved by law.
All right. Now, let's look at it from the materials, unskilled labor, substandard materials, and unprofessionals used as a workforce to erect these buildings. Do you think the regulatory authorities can actually assess this to, vet the materials that are being used in erecting this kind of structures to prevent future occurrence?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. As a way of solution.
Yes.
The state government should assign a quality control engineer, at least one.
Okay.
On every of those kind of structure to ensure that the material they are being used, the materials being used are genuine and can stand the test of time. So that quality control engineer will not report to government. If you had one there, I believe once the building gets beyond 15 floor, that quality engineer would have reported to government, and that would have been nipped in the bud.
All right.
Either the approval will be withdrawn, or the license of the engineer will be, withdrawn, or something. Something will be done along that line.
Okay.
So that's a preemptive measure is required here to make sure we don't allow buildings to get completed and then they collapse.
Okay.
We should be able to nip it in the bud once it gets into contravention, once they move away from the plan.
Okay. Now, let's talk about Anambra State election that is built to take place on Saturday, a few days from now. The INEC boss, Professor Mahmoud Yakub, is already in Anambra State meeting with security officers and commissioner of police in that state in order to make sure that security is on ground to avert any threat that might prevent the election from having a smooth sail. Now, INEC has been put on the front burner again to test its capacity for conducting free, fair, and credible elections. What's your take on it?
Well, I think the government have no choice but to deploy the necessary resources, both material, security, and the rest of it, to give the people the confidence that actually government is on top of the situation and government will safeguard them while they come out in their mass to vote. Because if government does not do this and you are not able to conduct elections, it will lead to constitutional crisis. Because the substantive governor of that state cannot stay a day beyond 4 years.
Oh,
okay. So otherwise, you would have run into constitutional conflict. So the government, I believe, is doing a lot to make sure that that election holds.
All right.
But the fear is this.
Okay, yeah.
The attacks, the consistent conflict and crisis between the government and the IPOB and the Eastern Security Network and independent criminals who take advantage of the volatile nature of that region to perpetrate independent crimes and then label it on the group. The government has to watch all that.
Okay.
There must be a strategy, a systemic organization that will be able to fish out those who are out there to make sure that they ferment trouble on that day to prevent election from taking place or to prevent the INEC officials from carrying out their functions or whatsoever in that aspect. Governments have the instrumentality of coercion.
Okay.
And then Anambra State is under the government of Nigeria.
Yes.
And the law is that if the government of Nigeria, or if Nigeria or any part of it thereof is under threat, it is the responsibility of the government to make sure that they not only curb crisis, they nip the threats, and they provide security and welfare for the people.
Okay.
Section 14, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution says, it is hereby accordingly declared that sovereignty belongs to the people, through which government derive our legitimacy, and that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. So government will apply all the necessary apparatus.
Okay,
to
but
make
Barrister
sure
Ofeli,
that is
done, right. Okay, but Barrister Ofeli, do remember that the government has been using the coercive means even before now, but the attacks or the threat still persists. Don't you think the government should propose or change some form of strategy by not only deploying the stick mechanism, but also use that of the carrot approach?
I think negotiation should come in. First of all, the government at the center must be able to, liaise properly with the government of the units. That means what I'm talking about is the federal government and the state government.
Okay.
So when they're able to have proper alignment, the state government will be able to reach out to their people, reach out to them in their mass. Then there will be some kind of negotiation for the possibility of peace to return. Okay?
Yes.
Because where there's no peace, you cannot even have governance. Okay?
Yeah.
These threats are very, very serious. When you are asked to sit at home, when there's a declaration from some quarters that people should not move, and when they move, they are severely punished by the group and the rest of it.
Yeah.
Government should be able to work that through. If correction is not yielding the desired results,
Okay.
then there must be a way of finding these people and then have a talk with them.
Okay.
So that you can reduce casualties and then you can return peace.
Okay.
To that state.
All right, Barrister Ophelia. Now let's go to our final topic of discussion this morning. It has to do with the COP26 climate change conference that is currently taking place in Scotland, Glasgow. The Nigerian president also has is there currently now when world leaders gather just to discuss issues about climate change and the devastating effect it's currently having in the world. Where do you think we are heading? Do you think we are at the brink of something not very palatable?
Well, we are at the point where emission and environmental degradation has wrought a lot of damage to our climate because currently most countries of the world still use, machines and mechanical equipment that emit a lot of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and the rest of it. I read just this morning where Elon Musk, talking about him giving $100 million to anybody who can invent whatever that can take carbon dioxide off from the sea or the air. But the question is that from science, we understand that if you plant trees, okay?
Yeah.
And when you plant trees, what trees or plants, what they feed on is carbon dioxide. Why they emit oxygen? And man needs oxygen. Man take out oxygen. The trees, plants take in the man emits carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
And then the plants
take it in.
Take in the carbon dioxide and then emits oxygen. So I think that part of the solution, like I listened to the president and other world leaders, most of the solution being profiled here is that desertification, deforestation, and all those human activity that brings grievous injury to forests, to rivers, to sea, and all that is the primary thing that is running against our environment. So the solution, therefore, is that we should go back to enhancing our forests, plant more trees, okay, and then allow existing ones to flourish, and then look for a way to get our rivers and our waters cleaner, and then make sure we don't emit too much of carbon dioxide or emission of
methane,
gas flaring, and all that. Africa has been seen, Sub-Saharan Africa has been seen as one of the major contributors to these environmental issues.
Okay, but Barrister Ophelia, yeah, sorry to butt in here. Some of the biggest contributors to the climate change or the climate, the whole style climate is the most industrialized nations. You talk about United States, you talk about China, you're talking of Russia, and you're talking of European Union. And the third world countries are in the process of industrialization. So how do we marry this, since industrialization is one of the phases that will lead to development, that actually developed the West, and the third world nation is rather approaching this phase? Do you think we'll be able to tackle this issue with climate change by just reducing emissions?
Let me say, okay, From the records, Africa is actually low on the ranking. I actually remember that Africa is low on the ranking of this because of the fact that we're developing and all that. Now, there are new innovations and machines that actually don't emit. I have seen a vessel that runs not on the kind of machines we have that emit. I've forgotten what they call it now, but it does not emit any of these fumes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think technology is part of the solution here. Now, people are relying more on solar energy.
Okay.
Solar energy is a natural form of energy that have the propensity to keep the climate the way it is. So if we gravitate more towards using our nature to generate power by machine, today we have electric cars. Okay, electric cars will not emit
smoke
or things like that. So by the time the world is able to transit proper, you know, we will have green energy.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that will help to facilitate situation as it relates to climate change.
All right. Barrister Ofeli, thank you so much for your time this morning. Barrister Ofeli is a legal practitioner right here in Lagos. Many thanks for your time. I could go on and on having this conversation with you.
You're welcome.
Yes, but the time will not permit us. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Now we continue with the stories making the rounds, not in the pages of newspaper in Nigeria, but outside the shores of Nigeria. But before we move forward, let's quickly go on a break. And when we return, we'll bring you the final lap of the review. Do join us again. Welcome back. We bring you more stories on the newspaper review right here, but we are moving away from Nigeria to Kenya, where we're taking a look at stories making the rounds on the front page of the Standard digital newspaper. And it says, is Peter Kenneth Rayla's running mate? That's a question with regards to 2022 general and presidential elections that is running very close in Kenya. State doles out midterm break. Players protest it's not enough. Wants to start and run a debt-free business? Yes, how? You want to take a look at that in the Standard digital newspaper. Nakuru's lush green marijuana farms reject over witchcraft. Elders find a refuge in shrine. Britain fights a city investor over 600 million shillings current land. And delaying your... Okay, let's move away from that story. Why are British soldiers in Kenya? It's an article you want to take a look at. William Ruto promises to incorporate Big Four agenda in bottom-up economic model. And Tulo eyes over 1.6 billion shillings from sale of Turkana oil. Now let's move away from the Standard digital newspaper to the Times UK newspaper. In front page of the Times UK newspaper, stories are making the rounds. Okay. We don't seem to have that yet, and we will have to move to stories making the Washington Post newspaper. And if we don't seem to have that yet, we will then go on a break, rather. And when we return, the review continues. Do join us again.
As a child, what is most important to you is love, warmth, acceptance, and security. But as you grow, there is a paradigm shift in the way you approach life. The interest you lose in some things, you pick in other things. Sometimes, the road is smooth. Other times, it is rough. Every step of the way comes with a new hurdle to scale. You win some, you lose some. You laugh hard, you cry hard. But at the end, you look back with a fulfilling smile and say, "What a ride." High Impact Television equips you with what you need every step of the way. High Impact Television, securing the future.
Welcome back, and we move straight to stories making the rounds on the front page of the Times UK newspaper, where Prime Minister Boris Johnson has hailed deal to cut methane emissions in the climate summit. University expels athlete after a gang rape claim. Tories set to veto Patterson's suspension. Girl aged 4 snatched from tent in the outback found after 18 days search. Golf club tries gender-neutral fees. And spending power hit by high taxes and stagnant wages is still in the front page of the Times UK newspaper. Business travel starts bouncing back despite switch to video calls. Javid links busy hospitals to GP access. Risk of breast cancer spreading is higher among younger women. COVID crisis far from over, says Sage advisor as he steps down. Train skidding through red light is probable cause of tunnel crash. Exasperated while summons top brass for dressing down. Now, those are the stories making the rounds on the front page of the Times UK newspaper. And we go to the stories making the rounds in Washington Post newspaper, where you have it. Glenn Youngkin wins a VA governorship race. That is, the GOP political newcomer will become the first Republican to win the executive mansion since 2009. Key suburban and rural districts favored Youngkin by a narrow margin. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin is projected to win before the elections began. Now, let's move forward. Post-Trump Virginia return as a swing state. Youngkin's balancing act with Trump pays off. Reeling Democrats see threat to House and Senate control as Republicans crack their 2020 coalition. Minneapolis reject police reform measure. In New Jersey, GOP candidates' small lead keep Democrat anxious. And those are the stories making the rounds on the front page of the Washington Post newspaper. Many thanks for joining us this morning. You can send eyewitness report to info@highimpactstudios.com or direct messages on all our social media platforms at ImpactTV and ImpactTV UK. I am Oyin Priye Krumale.